FGC Job Squad, your premier Tekken podcast.
Everybody, this is the FGC Job Squad, episode 7. I'm your host, Kadizi, with my co-host, Ian, aka Pickle, and we have a very special guest today, Spero. Thank you for coming on, bro. Thank you so much. Very nice to meet you.
Hero.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Glad to be here.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
Awesome.
So,
okay.
Yeah, we wanted you on this podcast because last time that we had a guest was NYK. I'm not sure if you heard that podcast, but he did mention, the whole Spero versus, what's homeboy's name?
Arario.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
was
heard.
the big part of the podcast. So we obviously wanted to hear your side of the story too. But
yeah, before we get to that, we got to start at the beginning. So, how'd you get into what was the first step towards getting into competitive Tekken for you?
Oh man, first step towards getting into competitive Tekken. Competitive Tekken was always competitive. Like as long as I've even known what Tekken was, it was competitive. Because like the first times I came across it was really at a friend's house and at an arcade.
Which Tekken was that?
So we're looking at like Tekken 2 at the friend's house.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't really know exactly where are you from. I don't think I've ever known this exactly.
Yeah, I'm from Long Island, New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up about an hour and change east of New York City.
Yeah, because I always known you were East Coast. I just never knew exactly where you were from, but I just assumed New York. But I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so New York.
Yeah.
Long Island.
Okay, so going to homie's house, playing Tekken 2 on the PlayStation, right?
Yeah, so it was like, at that point I never even, honestly, I don't even think I had much of a recollection of fighting games. I think I had tried Tekken 1 a couple of years before that, like one time, just mashing the buttons. I really didn't know much. And then, this is like, I was like big Final Fantasy guy at the time. I was like, oh, we're going to play Final Fantasy 3. Let's go. Back when they called it Final Fantasy 3, now it's 6.
Right.
And he's like, no, we're playing this game called Tekken. I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, me and my brother, we got Tekken, so we're playing that. So we all got to play that. It was like one of those things, like older friend, you got to do do what they say.
The cool kids are doing.
Exactly. I was the younger one, so I was like, oh, okay. And it just meant so much right there the first day. It was like, you got to beat the older brother and the friend. And I was just getting rocked. And I was like, I got to buy this game.
Dude, I started off on 3, and like it was kind of a similar situation. My older brother's the one that got the game, and funny enough, he used to play Eddie with just 2 buttons, 3 and 4, and just fucking mash those buttons together, and he would just beat me. I didn't even know what I was doing, obviously, and that's all it took to beat me during that time.
Yeah, that's all you need, man. That's all you need. 2 buttons.
To this day, is that still true to this day?
Well, I mean, it could be.
Okay. So you're playing Tekken 2 on the PS1, and then you just kept grinding it out, and with no arcade in the picture at the scene?
At that point, there was still no arcade yet. So I was just getting rocked, and I remember the most, like, dreadful, like, difficult memories I have of Tekken 2 was after buying it, trying to just beat the game on easy.
I've heard of this.
And I sat there for like, dude, it was like hours. If it seemed like hours, when you're a kid, and it just like, I remember just losing to Kazuya, losing, and then I finally beat Kazuya, and I won, and then all of a sudden, Devil. I'm like, what? Yeah, and it was just took forever, and
That's awesome.
yeah, and then I started going over there, and I was like getting some games in. I was winning. I was like, all right, that Kazuya Devil practice paid off. So like at that point, I kind of obviously I had an idea of what this game was and how to play it, and then when I would go to the mall, what would happen is there was an arcade at the mall, and I saw that there was Tekken Tag 1.
Oh shit! So a few years later, right?
It was probably around the same time. So this was probably around 1999 when Tag 1 came out at arcades. So I think I remember seeing Tag 1. I was like, whoa. Tekken 2, Tekken Tag 1, what's that? Then I think I let my friend know, and he's like, yeah, we got to get Tekken 3. It's like, that's out. That's the newer one. You know? I was like, oh,
How was the scene back then for those games? I know Tag was one of the biggest games, right, for competitive Tekken.
So at that point, I was like 12 years old. So I wasn't, I really wasn't able to
travel,
go out much. And it was honestly like, even going to the arcade was just sheer like begging my mom to like let me go while she goes shopping at the mall. And but there was a scene. There were these older guys there. Like I was a 12-year-old boy, and I'm like watching like teenagers and these like, you know, guys in their 20s like lining up. I remember seeing like all the tokens were like lined up on the machine. I was like, what is that? Like, yeah, put your token down, kid. Put your token. Get in line.
Dude, I'm super regretful. Like, I feel like, I mean, I wish I was older. I wish to experience that. I feel like that, you know, lining tokens up and just being at the arcade. Like, I don't know, man. It seems like such a special experience.
It was something like I cannot explain. There's nothing like it. It really was, like, you couldn't say it better than that. Special experience. It was super. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I never got to experience it either, but everyone that always mentions it's like, yeah, you know, we have offline, we have this, but it's not the same as the arcades. You know, it's like just different energy. It doesn't feel the same. And I mean, it makes sense, you know, but it sucks that most of us won't be able to actually ever get to experience that.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's like Narnia or some shit. Chronicles of Narnia.
That's
I've never seen that. I don't know. I guess that's an anime.
Narnia is like a special world, like full of mythical beasts and creatures.
It's like Japan. That's what I think of.
Yeah,
it really it felt that way because all these dudes, they all played different characters, and they were all, it was like this. I noticed like this camaraderie between everyone and this competitiveness. I would see people all standing around watching, getting excited when people would get wins. So it was like, as a 12-year-old, I would look at these guys like, and it was just, I didn't want to leave. I never want. I was like, I pretty much would be like crying when my mom would like take me away, you know. And then awesome. and what was even more mysterious and like mystical was when like we would be leaving there at like, you know, 3-4 o'clock sometimes. And then if there was ever a day I was at the arcade and it was late, like 5-6 o'clock, you started to see mad people come in. And then I was like, whoa, what is this? Who are all these people? But I was never able to go at night. Like I remember, because there was a movie theater near there. So like there were times where like I was with my family and we would drive by the arcade to go to the movie theater, and I would just see crowds of people like out the door, tons of people around the Tekken machine. And it just was the most, it was just like, oh my God, what is this? And I never got to experience that at 12, but I got to experience that like later on when I was a little bit older.
Do you remember the name of that arcade?
It was Time Out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had a Time Out in my town growing up too. I think that's like a chain, right? It's like round one.
Yeah, it's like it was a Namco run chain at the time. A lot of malls had it all over the country.
Yeah, because I think the tokens had Pac-Man on it or some shit. I remember that vividly.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. So at this time, you know, you're trying to get to the arcade as much as you can, but you get Tekken 3. Do you spend a lot of time Tekken 3 at home, or how'd that happen? Did you get to copy that?
Oh yeah. So then I got like super into it. So Final Fantasy started to like drip away, and then it's interesting because I, as a kid growing up, I struggled with video games. I really did. I had a hard time doing well at any video game I played. I always was like a slow learner. And I kind of just stuck to a few because I was like, all right, I got the hang of Mario. I got the hang of like Tetris. I was like, all right, let me just stick to these games. But then like once Tekken came into my life, I kind of just stopped playing all video games and just played Tekken only.
Did it take you a while to learn Tekken? I feel like, I mean, you're saying you struggled with video games. Isn't Tekken like pretty harsh game to, get into?
It is. It's a hard game. So I think that it was another reason why I gave up everything else. I just put all my eggs into that basket.
Yeah. When do you feel like when did you feel like the game started clicking for you? Like how long or what?
It's like that. It's like that moment when you think it's clicking, and then the moment when it actually clicks. Yeah. So what happened was I ended up getting down to that arcade more and more as I like 13, and then when I was like almost 14, Tekken 4 was like coming out. And I remember the arcade owner was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get Tekken 4." And I was like, "Really, Tekken 4?" And then I was like, "Oh shit!" And then all of a sudden there was another like huge place. It was like a super center. It was like an arcade, an ice rink, like a bowling alley. It was called Sports Plus. So that
Long Island.
This is in Long Island, right across. It's in a town called Lake Grove, and the mall is called the Smith Haven Mall. So like Sports Plus opened up right across the street from the mall. And what happened was it actually ended up putting Time Out of business. So it was like I was super heartbroken because I feel like, oh, the arcade's going down. But then when I went into Sports Plus, it was like Tekken 4 was there.
So this shut down your old place, but I mean, were you okay with that? I mean, I know you lost your main arcade, but was this better in any way, or?
In the end, it ended up being better. It ended up being better all in all because really my parents didn't want me to even be at that arcade in the mall because they said that there was drug addicts and lowlifes there and stuff.
Were they wrong?
I don't know. Probably. They probably were wrong. They were probably just like judging everybody. So Sports Plus was definitely more of like a family center, and there was like security guards, and it was just way more, I guess, appropriate for a young kid to go there, especially be left there by themselves,
Right. There's stuff going on. There's ice rink, people practicing
hockey, yeah. I actually used to practice ice hockey when I played ice hockey in high school there, actually.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. Well, what were you into as a kid, competing interests and hobbies, what else were you doing?
So I literally was just a complete Tekken, like I was video games up until Tekken and then just Tekken, like once I hit like 14, 15 years old. Really not even 13 years old, I guess. But then when I got into high school, I expanded. I played handball and I played ice hockey.
Oh, that's awesome. For sure. That's really cool.
I played American handball, not like European handball, like against the wall.
I don't even know what handball is.
That's why I said that, because most people don't know what handball is, right?
Okay. Is that just like racquetball, but with your hand?
Exactly. It's the same exact rules as racquetball or tennis. And yeah, you just you actually use a racquetball. Unless you're like some maniac and you use like the official super hard rubber handballs. Nobody does that.
I got into racquetball like randomly, maybe like when I was like 20, 21. So like 2 years, my gym had it. And I just saw the courts and they were always, like somewhat empty. And I just one day I bought a racket, and like apparently one of the like the best players in San Diego like trained there. So in the afternoon you would get like these top players, and they were all just killers. And I just started like, playing with them. But after a while, like, dude, racquetball is so fun. I had no idea like what that was. I never played racquetball until that gym. I think LA Fitness is the one that has it. But
it looks pretty intense.
It's so fun. Like it looks very simple, dude. But being accurate in racquetball is no joke, dude. It's a fun sport.
It really is.
I think it's deceiving because like you always see like 80-year-old dudes playing it, so it's like,
dude, they are the most dangerous, man. Trust me, the most dangerous.
For sure.
80 years of placement.
Yeah.
80 years
some of those guys have no power, but they just know how to make you chase the ball like a dog, and you'll just be running back and forth, side to side, and they're just standing in place laughing at you. Like that happened so many times, dude.
All right, so okay, you're doing that. So you're going to this new arcade. How was it there? You're playing Tekken 4. Did you actually play a lot of Tekken 4 in an arcade?
So I started going there a lot, yeah. And then I was like to the point where I'm learning how to use internet, and we got a computer probably around that time or a year before that. So I'm like, all right, I gotta learn. You know, they teach you in school how to do research. So I was like, fuck, I don't know, research Tekken. You know?
Right. They teach you
And
how to
then
use the search engine at school and stuff.
that's all I needed. And I found Tekken Zaibatsu. And I was like, wow, Tekken Zaibatsu. I could learn combos. I could, you know, and then all of a sudden I see that there's like combos and then there's a tournament announcement. I was like, what?
Oh wow.
Announcing a regional event. Regional events all over the US to compete. Top 3 at regionals make it to nationals to be the Tekken 4 champion. I am like, this is what I need to do.
Oh holy shit, that sounds super exciting.
I was so excited. So I was 14 years old. I was getting down to that. I did anything and everything I had to do to get down to that arcade to practice. So that is where, to answer your question, I thought it clicked. I was like, yeah, I know how to do. I had all the records on the arcade. I was like, I didn't get to. Not a lot of people went down there to play though. That was the thing. It was almost like once the timeout closed, only a few people strayed into Sports Plus to play.
Did it seem like Tekken Arcade got less popular after Tag 1, or was Tekken 4 just as popular?
It definitely seemed like less popular for sure. I don't know. I mean, now that I understand like kind of what happened with the game and everything. I guess it was like, yeah, the mechanics of the game and everything, like the hate that everyone has for Tekken 4, I guess it carried over. But I thought at the time it was just like those cool guys didn't want to go into like the kid place, you know?
Yeah, right.
And it could have been a little bit of both. They could have just not liked the way the game played, and they were just like, well, I don't want to go in there. Or maybe they didn't even know that they had Tekken 4 in there.
Yeah, they had enough reasons not to go. That makes sense.
Exactly. So,
and not to get off that tournament topic real quick, but man, when Tekken 4, so I remember the previews for that game for PS2. I didn't touch it till it came out on PS2. That game looked so incredible. Do you remember like the first time you saw Tekken 4, like what you thought?
4, I never saw like I just remember looking like this is like one of those things when you're like, you know, you're in a desert and like you see the oasis, you see like the little pond, and you're like, oh, you know, like I was like a 14-year-old kid. I'm like, oh my god. Kazuya like back from the dead, like in the intro. Heihachi's all pissed off.
Yeah, Heihachi in the helicopter. Dude, it's all so intense, over the top.
Oh man, it's like so cool. So I was like, yo, this is so great. And I saw the announcement and the regional event was in New York City at Chinatown Fair, like the world-renowned, like famous arcade in New York City.
Right.
And I was like, I want to go. My parents like, you're not going to New York City to play video games? I was like, huh? Like, no, you're not going. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you have to let me go. It's one time only. You'll never do. You know, like my parents were like, well, if your sister wants to take you, because my sister's 9 years older than me, so
you were again 14 at the time, right?
Yeah, so she's 23, probably like busy with her life, and her 14-year-old little brother was begging her to take me to New York City.
Okay, so we're West Coast in Hawaii. How long does it take from get to Long Island to like Chinatown Fair or whatever? Is that a big trip?
It's about an hour and a half drive.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, and you gotta go over a bridge and then find the parking, and it was a whole, it's a kind of a pain in the ass going into New York City. It's like real busy when it comes to driving. Yeah. So and when you drive out on Long Island, it's completely different than driving in New York City.
Why is that? I don't really know much about.
It's just very easy to drive on Long Island. There's not a lot of not as many cars, and it's just like way more space. As where New York City is like tons of cars everywhere, people walking, crossing the street, and then like everything going on. And so it's just
walking here.
I'm walking here. Yeah, like all that shit. Right. So you get all that. So of course I have my sister like, we got to get there early. My sister's like, oh my god, So you know how Tekken tournaments run. It's like they say the tournament starts at like 12. It doesn't start till like 3.
Yeah,
tournament standard time they call it, right? Tournament standard time.
That reminds me of Strong Style. I went to Strong Style and I got there to the venue right when it opened up because they told us like once you get here you can get your badges at 12 or something. I get there at 12 and then I see Bronson like, hey Bronson, so like where can I get my badge? He's like, what are you talking about, dude? It's 12. I'm like, yeah, 12. You said it. The venue opens up and get a badge. Like, dude, just chill out. come back in a few hours. I'm like, all right, I just don't know,
Right. That's exactly how it was. And and of course I got there. We got into New York City at like 10:30. Nothing was arcade wasn't even open yet. And I was like,
oh god.
My sister's looking at me like, "Are you serious right now?"
Yeah,
like,
you spaz.
I was super spaz. So I was like, she's like, all right, let's go get breakfast. So we went and got like Chinese breakfast, and I thought it was General Chow's chicken. They brought something to the table. I just grabbed a chunk of it and put it in my mouth. I bite down. It's just bones. I'm like, what the fuck? And we called away. Like, what is this? They're like, chicky feet. I was like, what? Like chicken feet. I was like, oh.
I've never had chicken feet, dude, but I do not want to put that in my mouth ever.
Yo, so that was the beginning. That was just an omen for what was about to happen in the tournament.
Oh no. Okay.
Oh
what
yeah.
next?
So it's actually kind of epic. So tournament starts. Me and my sister both enter because my sister's like, I ain't gonna just not enter. I'm gonna just.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
I'm gonna try my best too. So I get smoked the first game. Go right to losers. I'm like, I don't even know what hit me. I'm just like, all right, it was probably she just got lucky.
Who are you playing? Who are you playing at the time?
Paul. I was
You're playing Paul
player. Yep,
Okay.
I was just like straight Paul. When I looked at Eddie, I didn't even. He was just like just another character that I didn't even care about. Like meant nothing to me. Eddie Gordo meant nothing. So so my sister plays and she loses. She loses, right? And so me and her are both in losers bracket. And then my next match comes. I'm like ready. I'm like, all right. I just get rocked. I get smoked up. I get rolled up, smoked out, 14 years old, 2-0, and you're gone. I hear about these guys.
No.
I heard MYK's like first major, get like 5th place.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's what we said. We're like, fuck this guy, dude.
I know, bro. How are these guys so good? I see kids today. These guys, I go to these tournaments when I was living in Tennessee. I was living with Trungy in Tennessee. I was like, these guys are my first tournament. I got like 7th place. I got 5th place. I'm like, good job. Like, how so awesome. Like, I don't know how these kids. That's what I say. I was a super slow learner in pretty much everything I've ever done. So.
You know what I think it is too? It's that you compare to like how you got information back then versus now. I think it's a lot easier now to get good at a game. If you really want to, everything's out there. You don't have to go out. You can learn everything from home, and you'll be surprised how good people can get. From just doing that alone. But I think it's just that. Just you can get anything on the internet right now. It's
true. It also makes it harder. I mean, you're going against. I mean, you're looking stuff up, and everyone else is looking stuff up. So for me, I still go. I'm playing for. I mean, I can't say I haven't played much in the last year, but been playing, for a few years here, and freaking, I'm still going 2. It's just a hard game, man.
It's really hard. So yeah, so I get smoked, right, and I'm like, I lose. I remember just like the walk of shame was never so real. I just had my head down, like I was starting to like pout. I was like literally about to start. I was like starting to cry. Like I was so upset. And then like my sister's next match, guy doesn't show up. She gets a bye. She gets further than me.
She went 1-1. She's 1-1.
So right now she's through DQ, because back in those days there were no pools. It was just like they threw everybody in a bracket, and after your first match, if you had lost, they're like, all right, come back in an hour, come back in 2 hours, check in, like. So
please
like,
tell me you took your sister's place.
So I was just so sad. I was like, I didn't even want to be there anymore. Interest. I was like pissed off. I was like a salty 14-year-old kid, and my sister, like, she's like, come on, let's go. I'll just forfeit. I don't have to play. And she was like such a good sister. She just like, and then she forfeited her game, and whoever was supposed to play her got, they probably would have beat her anyway. But but it's not about that. It's about her doing the right thing for sad Spero. So I'll tell you something. I was so salty. I don't know when the regional was. I'm sure we could go online and find the date. But I remember I didn't even turn the game on again until like Christmas break. There was nobody. Nobody. I went like right back into Final Fantasy. I just dove into that shit. And and I remember just couldn't have no friends were able to hang out. I had nothing to do. I was super bored. And I was like, I'll turn it on. I'll just turn on Tekken. Why not? And I turned it on, and from that moment on, I like never stopped until like Tekken 6. Until like after like pretty much that was a whole different stage of my life. But at that point, I just grinded Tekken 4. I got closer with my cousin. I taught him how to play Tekken 4, and then at that point, Tekken 5 was out or coming out, and I had just got my license. So we were hitting the arcades up, and that was where it started getting real spicy.
Oh, that's perfect, right?
Yeah.
And the license.
Oh yeah, man! It was like the stars all aligned for me, man.
Nothing beats being 16 and getting a license and having a car to drive. That's one of the best life experiences for sure.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of the journey, and it was just I went, and at that point you had Tekken data cards, so you would have your rank on your card, and I kept, like I was super serious about that. Like I always put my card in. I always wanted to play people for rank. It was like I would tell everybody, put your card in, put your card in. I was like, yo, you keep those stats. We didn't keep these stats. What are we doing?
Hey, do you know why they call those like banana passes? Like those cards with the arcades? I've heard people calling that. I just never knew where that comes from. Have you ever heard of that before?
Nobody calls them banana passes.
I've heard being called banana passes before. Very crazy, but I've heard that.
Probably somebody just got funny with the banana pass, so they called it banana pass. But they didn't. Let me see. I got my T5 cards right here. Let me grab it because I don't think. Oh yeah, it still works. I have the highest ranked Tekken 5 DR and Tekken 5.0 cards. Like they're active if you could find a machine. Yeah. I was like hanging out with Nashi a few years back, and he's like, I know there's a arcade. And he's like, yo, bring cards. And it worked. All right, so it doesn't. So all it says on the old Tekken 5 cards, it would say Tekken 5 data card. It would give a serial number, and then underneath that, it would. Let me grab one that I didn't actually write all over. Underneath that, it's like this is the Tekken 5 data card. This card contains your data. To ensure its longevity, avoid bending, exposure to humidity, soiling. I don't know why you would soil on a card or other damaging effects. One character be registered per card. One registered character. Once the character is registered, the card is locked. The card usage number. Yeah. Once the card usage number expires, it must be renewed. So you would have 500 games, and then once you would use those 500 games, you'd have to take a blank card, place it on top or below the current card, stick it in. It would say, "Do you want to transfer your data?" You'd hit yes, it would transfer your data onto the new card. The old card would be dead, and then you'd have another 500 games for that card until you use those.
Remember that for Initial D? Do you remember Initial D in arcades ever?
Yeah.
That's so awesome, man. That's like such a novel thing, dude.
Yeah, and on the bottom is it would say www.tekken-official.jp, which is not active anymore, but that was the site that you would. I don't think you were able to like post your rank ever.
Right.
I could be wrong. I don't know what that was about. I think that would just kind of give you You know what? I think that gave information regarding like tournaments. It's probably like TekkenWorldTour.com today.
Yeah. So what characters do you have registered in your card? Is this for Tekken 5, right?
Yeah. So I knew I was like close with all the guys at the arcades. So they would give at Sports Plus. They would give me stacks of cards. So I had a card for like every character, pretty much.
Oh wow! So you just pull out like, okay, I'm gonna play Jin right now. Let me grab my Jin card. Is that what you
That's exactly how I ranked up highest in the country, because I was able to counterpick everybody that played with different ranks, and then I would just use I would constantly just play everyone and have the highest ranks, and then I would go into New York City at Chinatown and I would just play all of their highest ranks out there. There were even guys that would take the train out to Long Island and play me for rank. I have a great story about that.
So when you hear things like that, it's like, man, this seems like 100 years ago. Like I can't imagine. It seems like before cars or some shit, like the Wright brothers. But can you tell us what the scene was like then in that story? Whatever you got about this.
I got some great stories for this stuff. So that's how I met Joey Fury. There was we were getting good. Long Island started. I was really involved. I ran the scene out here. I got anytime anyone showed up to the arcade to play Tekken, I was like, start chit chatting with them. What's your name? What's your phone number? Anytime I'm going to be here, I'll shoot you a text. or give you a call, and if you could make it down. So I just brought everyone together on Long Island because New York City.
Awesome.
Yeah. New York City was just too far at that time. Like I would be able to get out there once in a while to practice with those guys, but like I wasn't there yet because I was like still everything was still very new at Long Island. So, well, do you want me to tell you like the ranking story, or you want me to tell you about chronologically? The next story really would be Tekken 5 regionals, which was my second tournament.
Let's go chronologically, then we'll get there. I guess hopefully.
So then they announced Tekken 5 regionals. So at that time, it was me and my two cousins, Spero Jin, Rob Jin, and Eric Jin, and we got my dad and my uncle. Like all five of us, we went out to Philly, and Philly was the spot for the regional event. And I think I got 13th at that one. So I was, and it was like that was like a 264 man. That was like huge. It was capped out. It was insanely busy.
Is this for base Tekken 5, right? Not DR?
This is not DR now. This is still 5.0, right? So I was still using Paul Phoenix at the time.
17th place?
13th.
13th place, my bad. And this is your first major tournament?
Yeah, after like post puberty, major, So I actually knew what the hell I was doing a lot more, and I was able to hold it down. I had some pretty cool games. It was good. It was good.
It was a family affair. You said Rob Jin and some other stuff like that. So your
Rob,
uncle,
yeah. Rob Jin and Eric Jin were my two cousins that also would go to the arcades and practice and play. Eric really didn't play much afterwards, but Rob went on to like beat great players over the years. Like Rob was really good.
That's awesome. I didn't know it was a trio, a family trio, or anything like that.
A family like that, just going on playing.
Yeah, I was like the fucking gladiator. Rob Jin was like the shit talker, and Eric Jin was the cameraman.
Do you have any good footage from this time, or any cool pictures or anything like that?
There is footage. I could definitely pull up some. Fine, I would have to dig for it. But there's definitely recorded games because we used to have like that mini camcorder, so I would have to take that and then transfer it onto the computer. But there's definitely footage somewhere. I'll have to send it to you.
For sure. All right, so you got 13th place, family affair. You're all hanging out. What happened? I guess after that.
After that, I try to score at the Rhode Island regional, and I had my sister actually take me up to that one. My cousins weren't able to make that one, and that didn't pan out. Like, I think I got like 17th. I didn't do as well at Rhode Island. And
I just need to ask, who was like the top player like in that area at that time? Like, who were like the best players?
At that time, early T5 was Gin Master.
Gin Master. Any of the top players still like around?
Gin Master's not really around. LOC was living in Virginia. He was really good. Brian H from New Jersey.
LOC Locke, like the guy that's in LA right now.
Yeah, LA Locke.
Oh wow, yeah, I know him. That's awesome.
Was he playing Fang way back then too?
He was playing Fang, yep. And Brian H got third place at the Philly, and Hatman from St. Louis came out and got second place with Asuka.
That's sick.
That's awesome. People just traveling around. And you're on Tekken Zaibatsu reading about this. Can you tell us about Tekken Zaibatsu at this time? Or people talking shit? Or you said it was a place to get tech and stuff, but was it just tournament announcements and tech? What else is there?
Yeah, there was all kinds of tech tournament announcements. Then they created Castell made me a moderator for the IC cards because I was just like such a fanatic about rank, and I would like find out. I would go into all the different forums all over the U.S. and find out everybody's rank all around the world, all around the country, and I would like have a page with like posted rank. People would post their rank. I would like pin it to the top page, and I would like try and break down the system on like how many wins it takes to get a promotion chance or how many losses for a demotion risk, and like I got into all that shit. So that was pretty much that. The shit talking wasn't until DR, until like what MYK covered.
What happened during that time? Why? What about DR made this shit?
You want to know? You want to know about the Arari? You want to hear about Arario story?
Yeah, I really do.
Hold on. Let's just get there. All right, you went to Rhode Island. You still grinding out tournaments for 5.0. Was there anything else that notable that happened in the 5.0 days?
Yeah. So what happened at that point was then happened nationals. So me and my cousin Rob were watching. We were studying tapes. So we're like, what the fuck we got to be doing here? And then my cousin and Rob and I saw Slips from St. Louis, and that dude got like, I don't know if he got third or fourth in nationals with Eddie. And we look at each other and we're like, you fucking see this shit? Like, this guy's sitting on the ground, relax mix-ups, like, safe. Relax 4-3 was safe. You block the low and you still, like, you don't get anything, you know? And we were like, yo, this is cheap. Like, Eddie's down forward 2, you just spam it. It just tracked. It was like up forward 4, safe low crush. Eddie just had, like, safe lows, and Eddie just... My cousin was the one who saw it, actually. My cousin Rob was like, yo, you could play Paul, bro. I'm going to play Eddie. I was like,
yeah, those are like still his key moves, right?
Yeah, those were all his key moves still, right. And then I was just like, I was like, well, cuz, you know, if you're going to play Eddie, I might as well play Eddie too, just to help you learn Eddie, you know? So he's playing Eddie, maining it. I'm like kind of secondary Eddie, and then I start chit-chatting with Slips. And this is how Tekken Zaibatsu was. This is how the community was back then, and this is how the world was back then. Things are a lot different today, but pretty much I reached out to this guy Slips, who was a Tekken Tag 1 champion with Eddie. This guy's like he's like top 3 at Evo or top 5 at Evo at Tekken Tag 1. He's amazing. And he would just start giving me advice and helping me on stuff and whatever. And then I'm like, you know, my spring break's coming. I was like, I got like $500 in my savings. I was like, would it be cool if I came out to St. Louis, took a plane out there, and just like stay with you for a week and just like grinded and hung out and met the scene in St. Louis? And he's like, 100%, bro. He's like, you want to come out here? You stay with me, you know, live with my parents, and we'll just grind. We won't stop playing Tekken. And that's what I did.
You're 16 at this time?
17. So I was like, it was like spring break. I guess I was almost 18. So it must have been in my senior year of high school.
Damn. How'd you get the plane ticket? Like, and your parents were just more accepting at this time?
At that point, like, my parents were they didn't want me to do it, but I was like, and they were like, we're not going to give you the money. I was like, well, I have $500 to my name, and I could spend $300 on the plane ticket, and that's what I want to spend my money on. That's it. It's my money. And they're like, all right, if you want to do that, then fine. And that was what they let. And I guess I kind of they let me, but I almost kind of, yeah, okay. Then Joey Fury happened right after that. Okay. So I went out there, and then that was just when DR hit. Like, they just released DR. And I go out there, and I just cracked out with Slips and Jody the Great, Unconkable.
Oh, wow.
AJ, Tasty Steve. He was Forgotten Kazama at the time. He wasn't even Tasty Steve.
Oh, wow. St. Louis?
Yeah.
These guys were all in St. Louis?
All these guys. Yep, this guy Mirai. He was an exchange student from Japan, and Hatman was out there, and I'm probably forgetting a few more, but you know, those are the squad, and it was just, they all treated me like family. Like, they're all so good to me. Like, and I was probably a little bit of a smart ass kid back then. I definitely was probably a little bit cocky and a little bit of a hothead, I guess. I don't know, not a hothead, but I was kind of cocky, I guess, in some ways. But obviously, I wasn't that cocky because I wanted to learn from these guys. But they were just so good to me, and they were just so welcoming, and it was the main. It taught me, like, listen, if you want to get better at this game, you got to travel, and you gotta inquire from the best players in every area. You got to see what it is that they're doing. You got to play them a million games. You got to get the experience, the matchup experience, and you have to pick these guys' brains, and you got to take a little bit from everyone and apply it to your style and to your game. And that was the beginning of me traveling the country and, you know, earning my prowess, I guess you'd say, my experience points.
That's awesome. I remember I didn't know who Jody the Great was. Is that, I think, SCR 2017, and I was going on a run. I mean, whatever. I won like 2 games, and I went up against him, and I was like, all right, you're the next guy I'm going to beat. I literally said that to him before he sat down, because I was just feeling myself, and he fucking murdered me, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I did like more research, and yeah, his league just murdered the shit out of me.
He is a real original gangster. He has been around forever, and yeah, he's no joke. So So I came back from St. Louis, and that was the thing back then. Like, if you traveled to a tournament, I mean, I guess it's still that way. Like, if you go somewhere and you travel and you get mad games, you just crack out and grind and get tons of casuals. You come back and you're better, you know.
Yeah.
So I came back and I was good. I had leveled up. I was destroying I was beating everyone as it is all around. It got to the point where like I was just, no one could really beat me except my cousin Rob. And all of a sudden we get like a call out. Here's like the beginning of the shit talk. Like Akazukin Cha-Cha from Buffalo comes into the Long Island thread on Tekken Zaibatsu, and he's like, fucking Long Island, you guys can't play Tekken, you don't know what you're doing, you're not even New York City. He's like, if you guys really think you're good, he's like, come up to Buffalo, we'll have a tournament at the end of this month, and if you win, I'll throw an extra $100 on top of the prize pool because you're out of town. So I just looked at my cousin, I'm like, we'll let these motherfuckers say this shit, let's go kill these guys. Buffalo where? Come on. So yes. So going up, it's like 7 hours from where we lived. So like it's so far away. So I was like, I told my parents that I was staying at Rob's house. Rob told his parents that he was staying at my parents' house. And at like 2 a.m, we just tiptoed out of the house. We had all our shit. We had our pads, and we just got in the car. I remember we were like, don't even close the door. We'll close the door when we pull down the block. Like driving down the street with the doors cracked. Hit the doors, hit the road.
Oh my God.
Driving
out as a kid.
Sneaking out as a 17-year-old kid. I just got my license like a few months before that. I'm flying up to Buffalo. I'm going like 90 miles an hour. I got from Long Island to Albany in like 2 hours, 3 hours, like something ridiculous fast. All of a sudden, I look behind me and the police lights are on.
Oh,
I'm like 17 years old. I'm like, my heart is racing. I'm like, what the fuck? This cop was ready to like kill me. He's like, you know how fast you're driving? You're gonna kill me. You could have killed the deer. You're gonna kill everybody. Like I'm sorry. I showed him. I had like a PBA card. I worked at a restaurant. Some cop gave me a card. Like, oh, if you ever get pulled over, just show this. Meanwhile,
my God.
It's like a New York State trooper. It's not like a regular cop. It's like a special like local town cop. He's like, he looked at me when I handed him the card. He's like, I should arrest you right now for just giving me this.
Oh my God.
I was just like, oh. He's like, he comes back, he hands me a ticket. He bumped me up to 100 miles an hour, which was like the highest bracket. And he's like, if you plead guilty, you lose your life. If you plead guilty, you lose your license. You have to come back up and fight it. He's like, if I see you driving like this back on this road, he's like, I'm putting you in jail. I was like, oh damn. We got to Buffalo like 65 miles an hour the rest of the way to Buffalo. And I got there, I smoked every one of them, and then I played all of them for money. I walked out of there with like $500.
Some ticket money, right?
And the ticket, when I had to go back, I had to come home and tell my parents about what happened. And then my dad had to drive back up there with me, and it ended up costing me $450 for a parking ticket, so I didn't get any points and didn't lose my license.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah. That's a great story. You're just you're at the tournament. Just were you like still thinking about that that pullover incident, and just
the whole time
out of your mind?
The whole time, I was like, you will not lose. You will beat these guys and pay this ticket. Like, that's it. I was fighting for the ticket.
So what's the aftermath of that thing? Did you call that guy back out? Like, hey, dude, I thought we were trash or something like that. Did you call him back out or anything like that?
Yeah. So we were there. I was looking at him. I'm like, we're looking pretty good, Cha-Cha. We're looking pretty good. You know, like I was climbing up the ladder. He's like, well, you haven't fought our best yet. Joey Fury's our best. Wait. So my cousin was just exhausted. Like he couldn't handle that like early hours driving up, all that shit. So he passed out. He ended up like passing out in the arcade, getting like 5th place or something in the tournament. He didn't even make top 3. So I played Joey in the finals and I just crush him. And Joe, I was talking to Joey recently about this. Joey was like, I was so intimidated by you. He's like, you're just like this big guy, you know, and you're like so confident, and then your cousin was behind you, like talking all this shit. My cousin saying shit like you can't win if your balls haven't dropped, saying like horrible stuff to like Joey. It was so bad. It was
How
so
old
say-
was Joy at this time?
Yeah, he
was
looks
like
really
12
young.
12 years old. It was
12?
so crazy.
That's so
yeah.
fucked
That's insane.
It was
That's like
insane.
That's like younger than I would have been at the time. Yeah, he looks really young right now, so that makes sense. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. So then it was like, from there, I just started going into practicing with the New York City guys. I remember beating Justin Wong, switching to Eddie and beating Justin Wong, and like getting better and better and better. And then I was like, as DR like blossomed, the communities all over were like really getting confident. The game was out for a while, the patches, because there was even 5.1 in between Tekken 5 and Tekken DR.
How different was 5.1 to 5.0?
It was so they removed like the Steve's Infinite, they removed like certain things, all the broken shit, they removed it, but they didn't like add the extra character like Lily and Armor King and Dragonoff. Like they didn't add the extra characters, and there was a lot of moves still that weren't added to the game, but it was like a patch, you know. It was like they were working on it, but they weren't yet finished. And I guess back in those days, it wasn't like now, and they could just like, oh, all right, version this is up, all right, update another version. So they did the best they could do. They came out with 5.1, which I thought it was cool. It was a cool game. It was like it played it and felt like Tekken 5, but it just didn't have all the broken shit.
So on release, T5 did not have Dragonoff?
No.
What you mentioned? It came out on DR?
Yeah, he's a DR character. Yeah, Dragonoff, Lily, and Armor King.
I think NYK mentioned that he had like a launching running 2, right? Like a regular hitting launching running 2. That was on DR? Or am I thinking of T6? I might be confusing the two. Anyway.
Counter hit it would bounce you up and
I think you mentioned one of them, like Dragonoff just had a regular hitting running 2 that would actually combo, but anything of a different game.
DR was that might have it comboed on counter hit, and if on regular hit they created that animation where like if you ever get hit by Brian's forward 2 and you just hold back and you do that like super fast rollback.
Yeah.
That mechanic was created in DR. Yeah. So that was what would happen if you held back and you got hit by his running 2, you would just fly back.
Okay, so you beat Joey Fury at this DR tournament. You're kind of making a name for yourself. What's the next notable thing to happen, I guess, at that time period?
So at that point, it was just like I was just like all about like getting rank and just beating, like just traveling. But then I started like, okay, so my cousin Rob started to like, I guess he was just starting to get into chicks and his guitar, and his parents were not for it. They were just my uncle and aunt, like my whole family was just like not for video games, you know. So like my cousin Rob like wasn't able to plus he was 3 years younger than me. So I'm like 17, 18. He's 15 years old, and like his parents like you're not traveling with your cousin all over to Jersey and to Virginia and here and there. So I needed like to continue having like practice and a sparring partner. So that was when I started making my way out to Queens. So I started practicing with Bloodhawk, Exalted, Liquid, The Realist, Fab, Fighting GM. Like those were the top dogs back then.
A lot of those guys are still around.
All those guys were my squad, and we would all. Plus, I was part of a team called Team New York. That was created by this guy Elin, also known as Secret was his Tekken name. The Realist was on there, Fab was on there, got Maddox, Agent Orange, Mojo, Bad Mojo, Go-Go, Sid Kid, and those are the members of Team New York. And like I earned my spot on Team New York by how good I did at Philly regionals, and then that was another place that I would go. And these guys were just all older than me, and they just would like just teach me the way, you know.
Was that team made out of the fact that there was like a lot of rivalry between regions and stuff like that, or was that before region rivalries?
That was, I think, before region rivalries, and these guys just made a team so they would like. It was almost like a little bit of like a brotherhood. We just all like got together and just like went out for dinner and practiced at people's houses and just like kept it like a family, you know, like all just looked out for each other. And then during tournaments, like we would all coach each other and help each other out and like stuff like that. So it was like really, 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 really like welcoming and just like a team type feel, you know?
That's awesome. Just a trading dojo kind of thing.
Right. It was like a dojo. Exactly. But those guys, they would only travel here and there. So the real like travelers was more like the guys I said, Bloodhawk, Exalted, Fab, GM, Realist, me, at Liquid. Those are like the guys that really just like, we were the New York City squad. So once we were going around to Virginia, we were going to Rhode Island, we would go to, you know, Jersey and Maryland, and we'd go all over the East Coast, Philly, and then like it just started. Everybody started doing that. People like were just traveling around, and that's when the shit talk started. And NorCal and SoCal would always have their rivalry, and then this like all of a sudden we started coming up. Like the East Coast always sucked. We were never good. We never even made a top 8 at Evo. We were no good.
Nobody, not even any of the guys you mentioned. Nobody was that good.
Justin Wong was the first one to make in Tekken 5.0. Justin Wong got top 8 at Evo. And then after him was me. I got second place. And then after me was Fab. So then like, but like we knew that we were getting good. Like we knew we were good. So we were like, yo, we're all right. West Coast is like, you're not all right. You think you're all right because you're good where you are, but if you play us, you're going down. And we're like, no, we're not going down.
Who were the top dogs in the West Coast during this time?
Oh my God. So it was like Bronson, Arario, Tom Hilfiger was real good. Mr. Naps was good. You know, Jimmy J was good. He was still coming up though. You know, he was he trained with a guy, Willpower. That dude was real good.
He's also in NorCal, right? Willpower?
NorCal, yeah. And then there's like Filthy Rich. Filthy Rich lived on Long Island for a short time, actually. So I remember driving out to Filthy Rich's place in Long Island and getting games with him.
Oh, that's crazy. He's on both coasts. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And okay, I know the shit. I know how it all began. Okay, so Bronson had a girl. Bronson's wife currently was living in New Jersey when he was dating her.
Right.
So I was running tournaments at Sports Plus, and I was like, you know, I was cool with the managers and the guys that worked the arcade. They would put the game on event mode, and we had the whole arcade to ourselves. Like, so I would run events, and I was like, yo, no, come out to Long Island and try and beat me. Like, no one can beat me at home turf. Spero does not lose. Long Island does not lose on home turf. So people like that shit. So, you know, Gin Master came out, and Gin Master came out talking shit. And there's footage of this too, of me, you know, like Gin Master calling me trash and like in between games, and I'm like trash. I was like, you can't even fucking get a game. Like we're literally like not even kidding, like seriously, like talking shit to each other. Like my cousin in the background, like saying shit, you know. And then I remember like I even like after like I beat him, I remember like I put my hand up, he smacked my hand away, and I was like, "Fucking bitch!" Like he just walked out. Like it was like real. Yeah, I was like, "Have a nice fucking ride back to Virginia, second place, fucking loser." You know, like
man.
Yeah,
that's,
it was like,
that's the shit right there, dude. That's awesome.
No, it was serious. And Filthy came out for a tournament. I think at that point he came back to visit. At that point, he had moved to the West Coast and then came back to visit. I beat him. And then the most epic of all was when Bronson came to the Long Island tournament. So I housed Bronson. So Bronson stayed over at my house. And we played, it was me, Bronson, and the Realist. And we played Tekken all night. And I think at the end of the night, Bronson had beat me and him. Like, it must have been like, we didn't even get 10 games on him. And he got like 90. It was like 90-10 between me and the Realist, you know? So the next day we're at the tournament, and I would literally like seed people on like the best players, but then I would just throw any unseeded people. I would just take their name, put a number. I would designate a number to their name, throw it in a hat, and I pull the numbers out of a hat. Like it was like a truly random thing, you know. So Bronson had to play Brian H. Now, Brian H. Remember was the guy who got third place in the T5 regionals. You know, the Paul player,
Right.
And I know IK told you that you could plug your stick or your pad into the port to the back of the So Bronson plays stick, so he didn't need to plug the stick in. So Brian H beats Bronson, right? And Bronson goes to me, and to everybody, he's like, "Fucking stick's broken. That's why he beat me. It's just bum. It's a bum stick." Brian H looks right over. You go, "Oh, the stick's broken." He goes, "Plug in a stick and run it back right now."
Oh man!
And he plugs in a stick and runs it back, and Brian H beats him again.
Oh god, this dude sounds like a legend. Holy shit!
That's why he goes by the name, the legend Brian H. Now, when he comes to he comes all shit faced to tournaments and shit now, but he still goes by the name, the legend Brian H. Right? So, yo, man, and Bronson ends up beating him in losers. I think I sent Brian to losers, and then then I had to play Bronson in grand finals. And Bronson beats me 4-0 for grand finals 1. Because back then it was first to 4 grand finals.
Okay.
Winners finals was first to 3. Losers finals was first to 3. Everything else was first to 2. And then grand finals was first to 4. So he resets it. And I'm like, dude, you got to whiff punish. You got to whiff punish Julia's elbow. That's it. You got to take the risk. You got to get him to whiff an elbow, and you got to down forward both kicks. That's it. Party crasher. So I was like, I entered the real Tekken zone, and my third eye opened up, and I beat him 4-2, and I ended up beating Bronson in home turf.
Oh man, just like you said, this is Eddie versus Julia, right?
Eddie versus Julia, which is like a super bad match for Eddie.
Just poach you with that move, right?
Yeah. And so I had that. I also went to Strong. Now, this is going to lead up to the Aurario story. So I went to the first Strong Style ever. And I played
Bronson as well, right? Bronson helps this one.
Yup. He ran it from the beginning. And I played Aurario in a money match. And I beat him like clean. I beat him good, you know? And that was the only game I ever played against Aurario. Was like the first. This is DR, yup. And
okay, just real quick for one. So, like, when you beat Bronson, was there any kind of like shit talk on the forums? Like, yeah, we're not as bad as you guys think. You came out, you fucking lost, like we said.
That's exactly. Yup. And then New York had my back, and New York's like, yo, you fucking can't. Spero can't be touched, and we can't be touched, and this is what's up. And that was when it got real hot. Because it was like, I beat Bronson, and he came out here, and Brian H. fucking ran it back and didn't take his shit. So it was like a whole thing,
Yeah, the story about the run back with the broken stick, quote unquote broken stick, that's fucking amazing. That's put him on blast.
That was that was like one of the greatest moments ever. And then I had beaten Aurario for money, because that was another one. They're like, yeah, you beat Bronson, but could you beat Aurario? I was like, I fucking toasted Aurario for money. And I said something like that, and Aurario sends me a fucking private message on Daibatsu. He's like, yo, check yourself, bro. Like, I don't know who you think you are, talking this shit. You don't know me. Because I think I might have said I toasted Aurario. I might even said something a little more like, West Coast isn't shit.
Him, right?
Not directly to him, but about him. If I kind of was like talking shit out loud to everybody, not to him, and it was a little bit more than I just beat him. I think it was like I beat him, and you guys are fucking garbage.
Someone passed that message to him, and who knows, he probably considered a bit more, just to spice it up.
Yeah, or he just saw what I wrote, and he basically told me, he's like, let's see you talk this shit in real life. You got a big mouth on the internet,
right?
And he kind of called me out. So that's where, like, if I was where I am now, if I was a mature adult, I would have just played it right. But I was a young, hot-blooded kid, and I'm like, yo, I don't know who the fuck you think you are. I'm like, I'm gonna fuck you. I took your money at Strong Style. I'm gonna fucking take your money at Evo. I was like, so let's play for fucking money. He's like, all right, big dog, you want to play for money? Play first to 10 for $300. I was like, you got it.
Oh my god, that's fucking epic.
And I thought my balls were so big. I was like, let's do it before the tournament. I don't even give a fuck. We'll play before the tournament because I figured, Bronson played me all those games before the tournament and I won. Like, why? It's only going to be to my advantage is the outlook that I had. But Arario grew up in an arcade. Arario is like so much more experienced than I ever was at that time in Tekken. And I would have been way smarter at that time to just hold that one win that I had on him, not play him for money. And if that was the case, I would have won Evo in 2007. Hands down.
Did you get too exhausted, I guess, from that? So just tell us about that Evo. So what Evo was it? What did it take to get there? Like,
so they had these
was
Evo.
It your first Evo?
It was my second Evo. My first Evo was in 2005. I lost to Alex Valle actually in pools.
Really?
Oh, in Tekken? Wow. He actually wrote the Tekken 3 guide, so he's not to be slept on, right? He's a Tekken OG, right?
Yeah. He's I heard
King. Yeah, Alex Valle did some big dog shit like back in like Tekken Worlds, I think.
Right.
There was like a huge tournament. Like, I don't even know much about that. I don't really know the lore behind that, but I know Alex Valle was involved in Tag 1, so he was probably legacy in that shit over in T5, and he had me beat, and I remember just like taking my losses and and I was like, I'm going to learn from this. I want to get better, and my first time in Vegas or second, I think it was maybe my second time in Vegas, but my first time in Vegas for Evo, and that was 2005. I don't really remember much about that. It was 5.0, and I just remember losing to Alex Valle. And then, but 2007, so they had these Evo qualifiers. So I didn't even do that well. I think I only got like 9th place at the Evo East. Everybody just had my number on the East Coast that day. It was just a bad day. It was just a bad day.
The worst day.
It was my worst day. Yeah, my worst day. So, but I made it past pools because if you made top 16 or top 13, whatever it was,
right,
you bypassed pools. And
so that's all you needed, right? You were good.
That's all you need, man. Imagine that. Imagine not having to deal with pools at Evo.
No,
it was like so good, so good. I'll bring that back. So I got there and we were like, yo, like it was all this shit. It was all this hostility. It was the East-West Coast. It was before like day 2. And we played this money match. They recorded, it's still on YouTube to this day if you guys want to watch it. And yeah, it was I even had a jump on him. I think I had an early jump. It was pretty even like the whole way, I want to say. But I was always a tournament player. I was not good in long sets. Even in my prime and my hayest of heydays, I was like a tournament player. I would do okay in some money matches if I had to here and there, but long sets I would not do nearly as well. Like now I'm a bit better in long sets. But in those days, I didn't know frames back then.
Was it first to 10? Was this long set first to 10? First to 10,
yeah. So he ended up beating me, I think, 10-8. And
dude, you did really well. That's fucking close, man.
Yeah, it was back and forth, and then he beat me. So I was like, oh well. I was like, fuck it, I don't even care. Like I was like, well, it didn't faze me, honestly. I was just so high on myself, and I was just so happy to be there. I was with all my friends, all the homies, like no big deal. And then day 2, I was just a machine. I think I didn't get thrown all day. I remember even somebody grabbing me from the back, and I somehow turned around and broke a back throw or something.
That's impossible, but okay.
That's how right,
that's how on point you were.
Yeah, right. Like breaking throws from the back, right? So
yeah. Plus, you entertained a lot of people. Like obviously, MYK came on last time, and people are still talking about that story to this day. So I mean, you put on a show. That's
definitely put on
memories.
Is it true that he beat you with that baseball slide?
Yeah, but
you didn't mention it. I had to bring it up.
you gotta make it look good for the crowd, right? So fucking give him the baseball slide. So
yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was almost a fight too. One of their guys on the West Coast almost fought one of our guys, like one of the guys from Team New York. Actually, the shit talk got so heavy and got so like attacking individuals. Like I remember our guy. He literally took his shirt off and threw his wallet on the ground. Fucking veins popping out. Like people holding people back. His shit got like. It was almost a fucking brawl at the Green Valley Ranch. Like, what the fuck?
Just from watching you play, right? They were just getting hyped on their own behind you guys.
Right. It was that serious. Right.
Just a shit talking going back and forth on both sides, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fucking crazy. So
Okay,
the next
you're on fire.
On fire, bro. I beat Frodo-san from Hawaii. He's like best Yoshi player in the world. Like I was just like playing super, super good. I fucking killed it. I made a top 8 winners. They did the interview, and my first match was against Filthy Rich in the day 3. That is online, and then my highlight match of my career. It's definitely not only is it the highlight match in regard to like just what I did. It was like it has to do with the comeback. Has to do with like just the right reads, and then just totally taking advantage of the situation was against Bronson in the winners finals of Evo 2007. And it was
Go through
that match.
What happened?
Want to talk about that?
Oh, I have to talk about that. This is my probably my greatest. I've like achieved a lot of good things.
Yeah.
I would say the only thing that feels better than that is like my baby niece that is in my life now.
Right.
There's never been a feeling this good. So, and you'll see why when I tell you the story. So Bronson beats Arario. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, he won Demons out of the tournament.
I was like, this is great. He beat Arario. I'm gonna worry. I'm just gonna beat him the way I beat him in Long Island, and that's gonna be that. So he comes out of the gate, fucking guns blasting, and he's just running through me like crazy.
Yeah. Did he play very differently from the first time you played him back in your hometown?
Oh, he used Ganryu instead of Julia.
Oh, really? Did that throw you off?
Yeah. It threw me off, but I was like, I almost was like, I'd rather this match than the Julia match. Like I could beat Ganryu. It's easier than Julia. So then it was just like we're on Lily stage, the pink pop.
Yeah.
And like the guitar solo comes in. It's like it's a true Spero Jin moment. Like I'm down on life, down on rounds, down on luck. Everything's looking down. I hear the guitar solo. I felt the Holy Spirit of Christ. I felt like the tingles on my back, and I'm just like, you will win, Spero Jin. Let's go. And I made this ridiculous comeback, and I got him to whiff. I got him to do a get-up kick twice.
Oh, no. He's
he
melting at that point.
He does a get-up kick. I launch him for it. And as I'm launching him, I look over. I see him smack himself in the head. I'm like, all right. And then boom, 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 I take that round. The next round happens. He's got the advantage. The next round does another get-up kick. I come so close. It's like literally like a freaking the skin of your teeth, and I just do like a micro backdash. The get-up kick whiffs, and boom, mirage down forward both kicks.
Oh my god! The fact that you remember this in detail is incredible. That means it's a special win. That's awesome.
So as I'm comboing him, I look in the corner of my eye. He's pounding himself in the head. He's just slamming his head, and in my mind, I'm like, "You got this. It's over. It's over. You will win now." And I take that game, and back in those days, it was a sides. It was like if you lose a game, you have the right to switch sides
as a loser, right?
As a loser, yeah.
I think that's still the case at Evo in the rule book. Nobody does it anymore. I think was it Sonic Fox did that to Go One in Dragon Ball Z, and it was controversial, but it's still in the rules. You can still do that.
They have it in the rules, but I think Sonic Fox did it when Go One did the reset, I believe, right? I don't think it was after one match, or was it?
I don't think it was after one match, but I think you're entitled to it. I think you're still. I think it's
on the
in
reset. He asked for the side swap, and there was a huge controversy about that.
Right. Okay. So yeah. Sorry. What happened next, bro?
Yeah. So he was pissed. Oh, I want my son, because I think I took his side after he beat me the first game. You know what I mean? So that was like part of my whole game plan, was just to throw off the momentum. And he's like, oh, my side back, I'm in the side back. So the start of the third game, I just do a 2 grab. And if he breaks a 2 grab, I get the side back.
Is that what happened?
So like a lot of characters in Tekken, like if they're generic 2 grabs, like if you break it, it switches sides.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just the ultimate like fuck you, I got it anyway. You know?
That's so good.
I mean, you started off the round with that. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That was like after the whole debacle, and he was all like, because I would load my, I brought my flash drive so I could load my Tiger Jackson custom. Like you were allowed to use customs back then, like so I had to like took time and like reprogram the controller in and put the custom in, and like it was like a whole big fucking thing. And then I just like took my side back, like fuck off.
Oh my god.
Yup, and then I just ran through him that third game, and it was just like getting perfects, just killing him. I would highly suggest you watch Spero versus Bronson Trent Evo finals, Evo winners.
We should probably link that in the video for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna, and I'm definitely gonna put the time into splice a video of this audio or something like that. So that's fucking hilarious, dude. So after you beat Bronson, what was it like? What was the initial?
I just felt so good. It was just honestly, it was like I felt like I had won Evo. Honestly, at that point, like I felt like I won. Like that was so. And the fact that I saw him pounding on his own head, that was like ultimate satisfaction.
I mean, doing that to someone, making them hurt themselves like that,
right?
Funny enough.
You ever played Pokemon? Like you're making him hurt himself in confusion or whatever.
Right. So that was that, and then when he lost to, I probably did too much damage to him to the point where Arario beat him, and then Arario came back and reset the bracket, and then I think he beat me like 4-1, 4-1 or something like that, or 4-0, 4-1. It was very clean how he beat me.
So you got to grand finals Evo 07, right?
Yeah, and then I just like
winner's
side.
Like
winner's side, and I fucking threw it away.
Could have taken it easier on Bronson, dude. He could have probably beat Arario.
I know, right? I know.
Even though you guys were putting a show and shit like that, was there any blowback to the fact that you were talking shit about Arario and then he beat you in a money match and then he beat you in grand finals? Is there any kind of shit talk around that?
At that point, I think I just kind of shook his hand. I'm like, yo, you're the better man. That's it.
Stayed off the forums for a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I was like it was actually kind of a sad time in my life after that in regard to Tekken, because I was at like such a high. Oh, and also that year I had made it to SBO. I qualified. I had like this epic victory.
We got to talk about SBO. We talked about the MYK. I want to hear the East Coast version of that
holy
SBK team.
Shit.
So that was the start.
That was another epic story. So like, they had this little mom and pop arcade all the way up in a town called Winchendon, Massachusetts, like really close to Vermont. It's like northern Massachusetts. This guy ran this tournament, and he was the sponsor for like in those days. It was like the arcade owner had to lay out the money to spawn. I think like Namco wasn't. I don't think Namco paid much. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that like each arcade owner, it was like the East, the West, and the South. There were 3 SBO qualifiers in America. But the thing is with that tournament is you had to play on stick. I'm a pad player. So I reached out to, I forget who it was. Somebody made me a stick. And I was like, could you just please make me a stick that's the closest to a Japanese arcade stick, It
wasn't a Moss stick, right? Obviously.
I'm not even sure at the time. And somebody on the forums, I reached out, like, I got you. They built me one. They sent it. I paid them for it. They sent it to me. And
how much did it cost?
Probably at the time, less than $100.
Oh, wow. So was it just a box with some wires and shit, or what?
Exactly. Just a box with wires. Plug that in. And I remember that being the most I ever labbed in Tekken 5, because I was just like nonstop practicing on stick. I was like, I have to do this. I have to go to Japan. I'm never going to get a chance in my life to go to Japan. I have to go to Japan. So, I wake up. It was just like one of those mornings. I woke up. I go to 7-Eleven and get a buffalo chicken sandwich. Shit was probably sitting there for like a week. I'm driving everybody up there. I pick everybody up. I'm like, got this stomach ache going on. We get all the way up there. I feel like total shit. My head hurts. My stomach hurts. And they did 3 single elimination tournaments. So the winner of each tournament goes to SBO. So that makes up the team of 3.
Right. Were they in different locations or in the same location?
Same location. There's like, we're going to do one tournament, winner, then that winner can't enter the next. Then we do the second tournament. That winner can't enter the third. And then everybody plays in a third tournament. And then there you go. You have your team.
Wow.
So Jimmy J just goes there and just cleans house for the first tournament. Just kills everybody. Just takes the first spot.
So he flew out because he didn't qualify on the West Coast, and then he heard about the East Coast rules or the way you guys are doing, and then he flew out, right?
Yeah, he flew out. He's like, "There's no way these guys can beat me." So, and he surely was right. So, especially on stick, because like the pad play, because our best players, GM, Fab, Realist, like, Exalted, Liquid, like all of our best players play on pad.
Yeah, it's a huge transition. I mean, even if you go for it for like a couple of months, I don't think you're ever going to be 100% in such a short time. Like it definitely takes a while for you to be 100% used to it.
Right. So I was all right. Like I moved real good on P1 side. Like I backdash cancel real good, but like, and then my offense was crazy on player 2 side.
Yeah,
and I just
thumb, dude. It's that thumb.
I know, bro. I know. So first tournament, I lose first round. I'm out right away. So I just sat there and suffered. And I was just like suffering, like feeling like shit. And then Jimmy J wins that tournament, right? So the second tournament starts right away. I lose first round again.
Oh my God, dude. Holy shit.
I was like beside myself. I was just like,
are you losing to the players that you feel like you should be losing to, or
one of them was like Mojo Gogo, who was good. He played Marduk. He just tackled everybody. Fucking Marduk is the same way back then as he is now. He's cheap as fuck. So and
how hard did he take these losses? Because I feel like I'm not that great of a player, but sometimes when I lose, it's just the lowest of lows. But you had found success and you're losing the first round. Like, how hard were you taking these losses?
I took it really hard. The second loss, the first loss, I was like, just fucking brush it off, dude. I was like, you'll be fine. I was like, Jimmy J won anyway. Who cares? Like, just don't worry about it. Don't let it get to you. And then the second one, it was like, it bothered me. And I'm like, dude, my head is fucking, I have a migraine right now. Like, my stomach feels like shit. Like, I feel so shitty. I was like, this sucks. Like, why do I got to feel like this on this day? It's so important. And then this guy, Brandon, I don't even know. I can't tell you his last name. Maybe Brandon Roque, R-O-Q. I don't know. This guy, he's a Massachusetts player. He's like, listen, bro. He's like, go over that couch over there. Go take a nap. He's like, I'll wake you up before the third one starts. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, just don't even worry about anything. He's like, I'll wake you up. Just go relax. He's like, you need to be your best. I was like, all right.
It sounds like a trap. It sounds like a complete trap. I would never.
Dude, this was a trap from the gods, from the heavens. Watch this. I put my head down on that couch. I immediately fell asleep. All of a sudden, I feel something on my shoulder. It's Brandon waking me up. None of my homies from New York. Everybody wanted it. So meanwhile, Bloodhawk won the second one. Bloodhawk, of course, Bloodhawk won the second one. Bloodhawk's the only stick player from New York. Right. So, everybody, and people were fucking, this is where like brother against brother, this is where people like, my homies wanted me to stay sleeping. Like they were like, fuck you, dude. Like we want to go to Japan right now. Like we love you and all, but we love Japan more. And this guy who I didn't even really know him, he just wakes me up. He hands me a Monster. I never even knew what a Monster was. I didn't even know what an energy drink was.
Oh my God.
He wakes me up. He goes, Spero Gin, here. He thrusts the Monster forward at me. He goes, I believe in you. He goes, I believe in you. As he puts it forward. I slam the fucking Monster down. I get on the cabinet. I start running through people one after the next.
Oh my
And
god.
then it was a crazy upset on one side. And then on the other side, single limb. So like on the other side, I have to play Mojo, the guy who beat me the first tournament, who's probably the next best player there. And if I had beaten him, I would have played, I think it was like 200 won or 200 yen. I get him confused. It was an ANA player from West Coast, and he
200
just
won.
Yeah, I was straight on that. I don't know why. I just knew I would be able to beat him, but Mojo was the problem, you know. So it was double Luigi. It was literally double Luigi down to the last pixel, and there was something in my brain that said, "Just run up and do 1, 2, 4, 4." I couldn't tell you. Like I literally heard a voice in my head tell me this, and this has happened to me in Tekken before. Like I get like whispers from God to do certain things, and I just listen. I just do what I'm told, and it works. And I literally ran up. I did 1, 2. He blocks the left, right. I jump up in the fucking air with the big fucking with the big jumping kick, and he gets blasted and dies, and I advance to the finals.
Oh man.
He went down to his knees and started crying on the cabin. He wouldn't shake my
What?
hand. Dude, tears were falling. Like, I mean,
See, that's how you know the old days were real, dude. People just fucking pretend not to care now, but that's fucking amazing.
I mean, but you gotta think about it. There's more at stake here, right? It's a trip to Japan, right?
Yeah.
So,
Trip to
Yeah.
Japan before
Yeah.
Japan got whack. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, and then I cleaned up 201 and I won my trip and I won it. And it was like that was another like one of the greatest days of my life. Like it was so because the greatest like two of my best times of my life hands down was when I went to Japan, when I went to Greece for Tekken. So
That's awesome. So at this time, so your teammates were Bloodhawk and Jimmy J, right? Did you guys start communicating immediately about like, hey, what was it like? You guys are an instant team, right? Is that how it worked? The 3 winners were a team.
yeah. So we were the team, and I guess we just chit chatted here and there. Honestly, I think I'm pretty sure everybody was just so thrilled to go to Japan. Like no one really cared about winning once we got there.
Right.
Like, we're fucking Japan, fuck this, you know. Like we wanted to win, of course, but we were more about like let's grind, let's like arcade hop and see what we could do and get as many. Yeah.
So I gotta ask about this. So Japan, that's like a mystical place for gamers. What was it like going to Japan for the first time? What was the flight like? What did it smell like when you landed? Can you just tell us everything about Japan?
Oh my God. So interestingly, I've suffered my whole life. I still do from nasal polyps. So I have like these cysts in my nose, and I got diagnosed, with them back then, a couple months before I qualified. So like nasal polyps, you just feel like you have boogers in your nose, and it's like your nose is stuffed. You're like clogged up, but there's just a cyst in your nose, right? So like I totally forgot that I was just so high that I'm going to Japan. I get to Japan, right? With the flight, I don't even remember. I took a Xanax and just passed out. I was just totally knocked out. I was like afraid of flying at the time. So like, I was like, oh, I got my hands on, I got my doctor to prescribe me Xanax for the flight. And that was that. So, I get there, right? I'm like, it was me and Steve, like, I think I stayed with Steve and Jimmy J stayed with some of the West Coast guys, because that's.
All right. Sorry. What's Steve? Who's Steve?
Oh, Steve's Bloodhawk. I'm sorry.
Okay, Bloodhawk. Okay.
Yeah. So like, we get to the hotel and he's like, oh, we got to get going. I was like, hold on, I just got to blow my nose real quick, right? I blow my nose thinking I have like a booger in my nose, but it's like my polyp. And I was like so excited to go to the arcades and play. I just blew as hard as I could. I rupture the polyp as blood pouring down my face.
Oh,
This is my first night in Japan. Steve, like Bloodhawk's like, what the fuck? He's like, what are we going to do? I was like, what do you mean, what are we going to do? I'm going to stuff a tissue up my nose. We're going to go to the fucking arcade. That's what we're going to do. And I just played. And that was my, like, the whole trip. I was just, like, replacing a tissue up my nose, just, like, no cares given. And it was amazing. Like, each arcade had its own level of players. There was, like, beginner arcades. There was Joybox, which was, like, the top arcade. And in the beginning, like I wanted to play rank battles in Joybox, and they all had like the highest ranks. So I tried to get to all the small arcades to rank up past the Dans, and get my card up so I can go to Joybox and compete. And it was cool. Like, it was the subways were super easy to get around, and oh man, the food was amazing. The people were so nice. Like, everybody had such nice manners, and they were so courteous to me, so kind. It was clean. You could like eat off the streets of Tokyo. I remember like just such a clean place, you know.
That's crazy, man. I feel like as a gamer, I really want to go to Japan, but this whole COVID stuff, and it's like then you hear about all these arcades closing. It feels like a bygone era of you can't really get that experience anymore. Like people aren't, you know what I mean?
It's sad.
We're lucky.
I'm very, very lucky, very blessed that I got a chance to do that. When at the time, like you said, right now, it wouldn't be the same. Right? It definitely would not.
That's
be the same.
pre-smartphone too. So you were just getting around, right? Like you had to look at maps. I'm sure, not smartphone stuff.
Right. I didn't even get a rental phone or anything. I just I knew. Remember the guy I said in St. Louis, Mirai, the exchange student?
Right. Yeah. MYK mentioned him last episode too. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "Yo, if you ever make it out to Japan, give me a shout." And of course, I made it out to Japan. I was like, "Yo, I'm here." So he was like, "Oh, awesome," you know. So he showed me around and showed me places, and I got to do some stuff. And I had him as like, he wasn't like with me the whole time, but I had like kind of like my own tour guide a little bit. And they offered, the guy who sponsored the event offered to like have a tour guide and a translator come everywhere with Bloodhawk and I. But we were like, that's all right. You guys can do what you want. We'll be all right. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how'd the tournament go? What was it like? Was it pretty packed? How many people was it? All that.
Oh man, the tournament was like, it was packed, and it was like so crowded in that place. It's hard because everything was Japanese, so it's like you didn't really understand what was going on, and then until like you were just like, all right, go ahead, go play. You know, somebody like pushes you over to the cabinet. But the sad thing is that they didn't allow pad players to use their pads. So like, I actually walked around with my pad around my neck, like as a statement.
Right.
but they said, I asked them why, and they said it's not traditional.
So were the hookups even on the cabinets? Like, were you directly able to? Oh, okay.
That
So
was
kind of
really
logistic.
Oh, was it only an American thing?
Okay, so that's why they were able to accommodate Korean players. All they had to do is just, take a screwdriver and put a Korean lever in.
Yeah.
For Americans, it's kind of less feasible. Is that why?
I guess. I think it's kind of bush league that they literally would like open up the cabinet, get screwdrivers out, taking the screws out, putting the levers in, put it in, plugging the wires in. It's like, yo, why can't you just like solder a fucking USB converter and like let's get this going?
I mean, at least for that fin, right? Like why not?
Right. So I was a little salty about that at the time. I'm not gonna lie.
At this point, how many months did you have on stick? Because you got that stick that you bought off TZ, right?
Right. I probably only had about like 6 months on stick.
Okay, so you weren't a noob. You weren't, you were flying probably, right, on stick.
I was doing pretty good, honestly. I wasn't bad. I wasn't bad on stick. But I wasn't as precise as I am on pad. Pad, I could do some magical things. As where like, my brain knows, my hands know what I want to do on stick to the same way, but I just can't. I just don't have that comfort. I've had a pad in my hand since it's like Mario days, since I'm a little kid. So like,
are you still on pad today?
Oh yeah, I still use a PS1 pad.
Okay, and this is super. Oh yeah, that's awesome. PS1 pad. Talk about that real quick. Why do you use a PS1 pad?
So I used PS2 during my like T5 days. That was my best pad, But when I went back, when I started playing Tekken again, Tekken 7, I was like, all right, I need a pad. So I saw like the Fighting Commander. So like started with the Fighting Commander. And like the way I'm just very, very hard on my pads, on everything I do. I fucking push mad hard on it. So I would go through a Fighting Commander in like 2 months. I'm like, they don't even have enough on the market for me to survive with this. So then somebody was like, all right, use a DS4. I was like, oh, I hate the way the DualShocks feel. But I was like, all right, I'll just get used to it. So I was like I went through like 4 or 5 DualShock 4 is like a year. Like I'll just break them. Like the pads just like die on me.
You mean DualShock 2 at this time?
No, this is like Tekken 7 getting back into it.
I got you.
Yeah. And I'm like, damn, this is not gonna work. So somebody's like, yo, there's like a Brook converter out there. You could buy a Brook converter, has no lag, and you could use PS2 pad. I was like, all right. So I found my old PS2 pad, got the Brook converter, and it just didn't feel right. Like it felt like I had to push so hard, and I wasn't really getting movements, and I was just like, this doesn't feel good. And then my cousin Rob actually gave me a PS1 pad for Christmas one year. He's like, yeah, this is my gift to you, cuz like, and I just had this PS1 pad lying around. I was like, let me just try it. And like I plugged in the PS1 pad to the Brook converter. I'm like, yo, this is good. Like this feels the way it felt back in the day. This is the way it always felt.
Really, no delay. I tried those out, and I felt like I felt delay on those converters, but it was actually during the first season of Tekken 7 when it came out on console. I don't know if you remember that there was a huge delay back then.
Did you download the firmware for the Brook converter?
I did not.
Yep, that'll get you.
Yeah.
When Tekken 7 came out, I definitely felt like I wanted an older pad. I was a PS3 pad guy, but like you said, the D-pad was kind of tough on the PS3, PS2. So I definitely want to try a PS1 pad out now that you're saying that. It sounds interesting.
The thing is, it's very hard to find like a perfectly functioning PS1 pad. So like if you go to like the button configuration in T7 and you just take your thumb and you just hold it on left, hold it on down, hold on back, hold on down back, hold it on down, hold on down forward, and you just like do that, you could test to see if the pad's fucked or not, because like it'll flicker. You'll just have your thumb solid, not moving on back, and you'll see it just flickering onto the down back, and that's how you know it's no good. And it's very hard to find one that like you just put thumb down on the direction, you hold it there, and it doesn't move, and it stays on that direction. And if you could find one of those, you give me a call.
Have you tried the was it the PS1 Classic? You know how they made that mini PS1? Are those similar PS1 pads at all?
They feel perfect, but the only problem is with those is they're not compatible with Steam or any kind of. They only work on the PS1 Classic. Like they won't work on a Tekken 7 PS4 or Tekken 7 Steam or anything like that.
Damn, that's a shame. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, that would have been that. Then they would have made new ones that work the same way and feel the same way. It would have been perfect. But yeah, it's very hard. Like I was buying them on eBay, brand new in the box. I was paying like over $100 a piece for them at times, and I would take it out of the box and it still would be shot because like it just was probably sitting somewhere in the sun or who knows. The elements these things are like over 20 years old.
Right. Now the collector's market's gone crazy. All the people who were gamers in the 90s are making money now, and all that stuff on eBay is just shot up in price. It's crazy.
Right.
Sure. All right. So SBO, were you a team just like MYK's where you guys were knocked out first round? Was that what happened there?
Yep. Half the whole tournament, half the tournament's knocked out first round. Sucks. So we got out first round. I had to go up against a Lily player first game. It sucked, man. Like it was the first time in my life my down forward 2 got sidestepped. I was like, holy shit, what is this demon harlot character? And I just and he won the coin toss, so my opponent got to pick the side. Because I was like, if I could just get the right side, at least I could just like move the right way, and but then it was weird. The person who wins the coin toss gets to pick the side, but the loser of the coin toss gets to pick the stage.
The hell?
Okay.
So yeah, I picked the Cathedral because I figured it would get me in the zone, but it was only one game, so I didn't get that whole Bronson comeback thing.
Yeah, one game's rough. That's brutal.
Right, one game and you're in a foreign country. It's like, oh my lord.
For sure. So anything else notable about the trip before we get off? I guess this little era.
Yeah, there was definitely a memorable moment. I learned a lot about life in this one moment. So I went to Yamasa Yu's bar, So this guy, you guys familiar with that player?
The Fang player?
Yep, the
I
Fang
didn't know he
player.
had a bar. Okay.
I don't know if he still does, but he did at the time. And we had a PS4 or PS3 at the time. So therefore, I was like, oh, Spero could use his pad,
Yeah.
So we played for money. We played for a decent amount of money. It was probably like a first. It was like a first to 10, I think, for like $50 or $100. It was a pretty nice. It was pretty decent chunk of change, right? And I was playing my heart out, right? And he beats me like 10-9, right? And I reach in and grab the yen and I hand it to him. And he pushes my hand back with the money and he goes, "It was such an honor to play you. I could never take your money, please."
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, dude.
And I was just like, humble pie central. And I was just like, oh.
What a nice guy, dude. They're not like us Americans, dude. That's
Right.
very nice.
Right. So that taught me a lot right there. And I was just like, wow, okay.
That's pretty cool. I mean, you're in his country, right? So, I mean, the fact that he would do that's kind of cool. Like I've never heard a story like that before, at least from like the American side. But
Yeah. And
someone pushing the money back has never happened here.
no,
right. I know.
the Yankee money away.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I have done that to a couple of youngsters.
After that point or before that point?
Long after that, in Tekken 7, some kids wanted to then I just destroyed them, and I'm like, yo, listen, bro, keep your money, and just keep practicing, just do your best, and then just try your hardest and keep working, And there was one other cool thing that happened when I was there. When I went to the arcade, the Joybox arcade, all of the Eddie players met up with me, handed me, they presented me a disc, a DVD, and they formatted it for American DVD player. And it was all Eddie footage of all of their Eddie players in Japan. And they're like, this is a gift for you because you are the best Eddie in the world. You are the best Eddie ever. And we want to give you this as up and coming Eddie players, and we hope to be like you one day. And they had somebody translate that for me. I was just like, my heart, my heart. I was like, oh, and I still have that DVD to this day. I pop it in and watch it once in a while.
That's incredible, dude. So at this time, how was information spread? Did you have to download videos direct? The YouTube was probably in its infancy at this point, maybe like a year out. Like how are they seeing your footage?
They would how did they see my footage? So they saw my footage from guys like Ian, who would run KITs. That guy would have he would not stream it, but he would record it. He'd have equipment to actually feed from the monitors into his computer and record this stuff. So and Evo would have that stuff recorded as well. They did that from way back then. So there was some footage like that. Otherwise, it was just camcorder stuff uploaded onto the computer. We would just I don't even know if how did they see me? That's a good question. How did they actually see me? They must have saw some footage from somewhere.
Yeah, I remember DL++ back in the day. You could do peer-to-peer videos. That's for older games or something. But I don't know. But yeah, that's cool. That's freaking amazing that they did that. That's heartwarming.
That was really, really heartwarming. It was so nice. And I don't want to. I uploaded a few things onto YouTube way back then. I kick myself now for it. I was like, dude, you could have been an original Tekken content creator way back then. And I just
all the people who started early, made it.
Yeah. I'm so why would I stop doing that? But who would have known? You know what I mean? It was just a whole bunch of work, a whole bunch of effort. So, yeah, those are probably the best moments of Japan, and just the fact that I was able to freely and safely just go through the streets and go into all these different arcades. There was always Tekken players, and it was just so exciting and so competitive and constant, just endless amounts of games.
Sounds like heaven, man. I wish there was, I don't know, HD cameras back then to follow you guys and stuff like that, just to see what it was like. But man, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. When I die and I meet my maker, he's like, "Oh, where do you want to go? Take me back to Japan, 2007. Just throw, and then just to spice it up for me, throw some controller ports in there.
That's awesome. Okay, so you get back from Japan. You're probably feeling yourself at this point. You have this amazing Tekken life experience. What What was Tekken life after, I guess, post Japan? What was going on, I guess, in the States?
All right. So what happened after that was, so we had 2000. So I had my, I don't know what happened. I think it was Japan and then Evo, or I don't know if it was Evo and Japan. They were very close together when I did, when both happened. But like at that point, T6 was announced, or like it was about to be out. So they did. DR was around in 2008. But everybody kind of stopped playing. Everybody was just kind of like straight on it, and they were like waiting for T6 and just like getting ready, getting hyped for T6. And I still wanted to keep going because I was on fire, But I was getting a lot of negative, I guess, feedback from my family and from girlfriend at the time, and I just had no support. Like I really had no support with Tekken my whole life. Like even when I came back to Tekken 7, the people that have supported me the most in this game have been the Tekken community and the FGC, and all of the people in here have supported me more than anybody at home, like friends, family. Like it's just always been an issue. It's always been a problem. It's always been like, you're on your own, figure it out. And if this is what you want to do, then go do it. And you're not going to get no help or no anything from it. It's kind of sad. And that whole attitude and energy was forced on. I remember when I got home from Vegas and I got second, my parents said their response to me was, "Oh, you got second in the world, huh? Good for you. I hope it's out of your system. Now you can focus on school more."
Oh,
man. That was how it was delivered to me. Yeah, I was just never praised for anything. And then the girl I was with at the time, like, I wanted to go to Evo 2008 because I was like, I can fucking win this.
Yeah.
And I think there was something. I have all my tournament. Actually, my tournament history, especially at that time, is on my Twitch. So if you go on my Twitch, you'll see I kept record of all of my tournaments, my placings, and everything. There was like I think an 11-month period between like around 2007. It was like 2008. It was 2008, 2009. Yes, because I'm looking at a trophy that I was a main event champion in 2009. I went like 11 months where I either got first or second place at a DR tournament. I was just like
amazing,
killing it. I was so hot. I think this was after SBO, after Evo. I was just riding out my skill. I was like really, really good. Felt really good. But I like at that point, I was starting to practice less and less. And then I was like going to less sessions, going to less dojos. And then before you know it, like I started losing more. And then it was nothing but myself to blame because I was just not practicing, And between the negative energy that I got from the family and friends and all that, and then starting to lose, that started to like pull me away from the game. And when T6 came out, I figured like, oh, I'm just gonna fucking be good at T6 because I'm good at DR. And it was just such a bad mentality to have. So the wrong way to be thinking about it. And I lost a couple of tournaments. I remember going to like, it was like a Big E event, and I lost to like a Long Island player.
Oh no, home turf.
It was like a Long Island guy who wasn't like he was all right. He wasn't he was all right. He's my homie Achilles. Shout out to Achilles. He's the man. He's the man. But he knows that he had me. I guess listen, Achilles is the better Tekken 6 player.
All right, let's hold up. So when Tekken 6 came out, what were the notable differences from DR? Because I guess I don't know too much about those two games. What were the biggest things that were different to you?
Hands down was Rage, because it was like I would get them down to a certain life, and then they would just hit me a few times and I would die. As where like you could never do that to me in DR. Like you have to make that comeback.
So the first time they had Rage, right? T6.
Yeah, and it was heavy. It was like the damage was serious, and it activated. Didn't activate that. I don't know what the percentage love life, but when it activated, it was. I just remember it doing chunks, and then the bound system pissed me off because like I personally like. What I love the most about Tekken is like the ground game, the spacing, the neutral, the wake up situations, quick wake up situations, and just like I don't like when you're just getting wall carried, you're getting comboed for 20 seconds, like these Akuma like that stuff is the biggest turnoff for me in the game. Is like the more you're tail spinning and bounding and resets and then rage drive spins and then they get to tail spin and like this is just what are we doing here, you know?
It's only
That's just me.
No, it honestly,
Right.
it's a valid complaint. It's only gotten like worse as Tekken 7 has progressed. Like you look at most characters now, everyone seems to have a pretty good wall carry, right? Like most characters can drag you from one corner to the other, and
Right.
you're also stuck like dealing with the wake up after all that. You know, like I do agree with that. It's definitely a pain in the ass right now.
Yeah, as we're Tekken, like Tekken 5 is just like launch. And Eddie's combo be back 3-3, 2 forward, relax, 2 forward, 3. Done. That's it. And then you got to guess.
And then reset neutral. Yeah. Feels
Right.
good. Or that probably felt a lot better just getting more opportunities to play neutral and shit.
Right. So that was so between the balance system, the lack of neutral, and then the rage, it was just like, oh my god, this is insane.
So did you hate tag too? Just like hearing your.
So interestingly, what happened was after that loss to that Long Island player, I think I just stopped playing at that point. I was just like, well, I'm not practicing anyway, so why am I going to just be showing up to these tournaments? So I just was like kind of getting. At that point, I was like finishing up college, so I was like, let's just do what we're supposed to do.
Right.
You know, like let's listen to what everybody else tells me to do and not do what I want to do, kind of thing. But it was like, it's part of life. You learn to walk your own path eventually. And
what were you studying in college at that time?
Teaching. I was a phys ed major, so
okay, that's awesome.
So that was cool. Yeah, it was a good time in college. And that was it. So I stopped, and then life took over. Like the working world took over, and I just like never found nothing worked. Went into teaching, found all this bullshit that went on in the schools, and like spoke up about the way teachers were literally like abusing students and shit and like horrible stuff. And they were like, we don't want this fucking guy. Get this fucking guy out of here. This guy's big mouth, get him out of here. He's making, so then that didn't work. And then like I went somewhere else. And then I went to be a personal trainer after that. I worked at another job for a little while and that didn't work out. And then I went to be personal trainer. So I was like really happy as a trainer. I was like in the best shape of my life. I was like feeling good. I was helping people get in shape, all that stuff. And then from there, I barely was playing any Tekken. Like I would think about it here and there. And the realist would call me up and he'd be like, bro, you're missing out. He's like, you're missing out, man. He's like, yo.
Missing out on Tekken 6. Is that
So
what you meant?
you're missing out just in general. He's like, yo, they people stream now. I was like, what? He's like, there's something called streaming where you could like go and broadcast your gameplay and like you could make money from playing Tekken without having to go to a tournament. And like, he's like, yo, there's like tournaments are being sponsored now. And like, he's like, things are getting bigger. He's like, this is growing. This is like professional gaming is becoming a thing, and like esports is like a thing. And I just was so caught up in like my world. I didn't even want to hear it. Like I just kind of was like, it's whatever, and it's almost like a Paul Phoenix Tekken story, like fucking down on my luck, just like nothing's working out. And then and it's funny how things come back around, and just nothing worked out for me. And then I was like told to go get a job as a train conductor. And I was like, again, just me listening to like everybody but myself and just doing what everyone tells me to do, just like blindly going along my life. And that was the critical moment in my life, is when I gave up everything to be a train conductor. I gave up all my hobbies, I gave up all my passions, I gave up everything about myself to just chase the dollar, because that's what I was told and raised to do. And I got heavy into alcohol. I got heavy into pills. I got heavy into smoking. I got heavy into I was in great depression. I was at the bottom of I was literally at like rock bottom of my life. Like I couldn't even sustain a relationship. I was just so fucked up. And again, I find like all this corruption and this shit in the railroad, and I speak up, and then I was just like, yo, my life is falling apart. My father was dying. Like everything bad in my life was happening, and
I'm
I
sorry
was
to
just
hear
like,
that's thunder in my background. I'm sorry. As soon as you mentioned it, thunder just struck, dude.
that's right, yeah. The gods hear me now, you know. And, so, and it's interesting because it's like, you know, it's very cliche sounding, but you really need, like, we each and every one of us need to chase what it is that feels right within. You know, it's like, just because, you know, it's why we all play different characters in Tekken, and life is in Tekken. Like each character is for each person. Like you're not if everybody played Eddie, it wouldn't be fun, you know.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Right.
stand out, right?
Right. So when I finally reached a point where it was like point of no return, I just I picked up. I took whatever money I put into that job. I cashed out. I moved out of New York. I was like, peace. I'm out of here. I was like, I'm gonna finally just do what I need to do and heal myself and just fix my life and get my shit together. And I was too weak to lift weights. I was too weak I was so removed from teaching. I wasn't able to teach, and the only thing that I had it in me to do was play Tekken. So I took my money. I moved to Texas. I moved to Dallas. There was a couple of guys over there that the realist was there at that point. He had moved from Connecticut to Dallas, and he was there for me. And Ice Cold Edge was there, and Eddie Pistons, and you know all those guys were out there. And I got off the alcohol, I got off the Adderalls, I got off the cigarettes, I got off all the drugs and all the substances, and I used Tekken to get my life back because I knew I had a little bit of a regret because I was like, well, you were kind of forced to leave right after when you were on top from all the pressure of your friends and family. So like, what would have happened if you stayed in it? You know, would I have been up there with Anakin and Jimmy J like within every tournament if I had continued playing throughout all those times? You know,
Right.
and I was like, you just got to give it your all. So I just went to like road warrior mode, and from Texas, I just started going to Wizard World tournaments, and they happened to open up these round one arcades that got Tekken 7 vanilla. So I had access to Tekken 7 before it came out, and I met Nashi at like Wizard World Philly. We just hit it off like right off the bat, and Nashi became my sparring partner at that time. And I would go to round one and practice vanilla, and then go home and go into practice mode with Nashi on tag 2 and just like practice. Just practice 4-7, doing tag 2, playing tag 2, but playing it Tekken 7 style, not
Right.
like doing it as close to Tekken 7. Don't do anything tag 2, just
Yeah.
do Tekken 7.
Just singles, right?
Yeah, and that's how I was able to beat Saint at final round before the game came out.
That's so awesome, dude. So tag 2 you completely skipped and from Tekken 6, and then you know you had stuff going on, but you just felt like riding a bike. You just got right back into it, huh?
You know what's crazy? So I did the very beginning of 6, and then tag 2 I was like the only Tekken I didn't buy during launch, like, and then I jumped onto tag 2 like at the end, like just before I moved out of New York, and went through all that shit. Like while I was going through all that shit, I think I started playing Tekken more. I was like, you know, I used Tekken to like kind of to battle all the garbage that was happening in my life. So that was where I got back into tag 2 at the end. So everybody was good at tag 2, and I'm coming back and I'm like totally garbage. And it's crazy because I was second in Evo and went to Japan the same year. And when I came back, I took losses like I did when I was a brand new player again. It was like I had to start all over again.
Damn.
I went to I was going to Tekken 7 tournaments like after I moved to Texas, and I was losing to guys that like I'm not trying to put anybody down, but like they were like nobody. Like
Job.
I was, yeah, these are guys that were just like, and I'm sure some of them are going to be listening to this, and they're going to be like, I got him.
This is the Job Squad podcast, so yeah,
that's right. They're going to be like, I got him. I remember that. Yeah. So I'll tell you, man, if you put it down like for a couple of games like that, and you remove your mind from it, and you remove your reactions from it, and then, like not to say I was abusing my body on a lot of ways. I was very stressed, and like I was going through a lot of shit too. So that didn't help either for my reflexes and my reactions and all that. But there was like, you know what it was? Like certain matchups I'd be great against. I'd be fantastic on like certain matchups, but then like I would come across like a Lars or like a Lisa or like any Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag 2 characters. I'll get my world rocked by these people. So bad. Yeah. So that's how it has. That was like the full circle, and that's how I came back. And what's funny is I came back, and my only character that I had to use at the time was Paul. Just like when I was a kid, all I had was Paul. Before I had it was Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie wasn't out right away, right? For T7?
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You don't meet too many people who played T7 in America, I guess, before it came out. It wasn't too many places.
And I got one last chance when I was in Dallas to relive that arcade scene. And we would all meet at the arcade, and we would all play, and we had rank, and we played death matches, and you know, it was like I got one last chance to get that feeling that we were talking about earlier at the very end.
See that your whole story, dude. That's that whole part of between T6 and T7. Honestly, that's like a pretty big story. I feel like a lot of people, you know, will end up going through something like that in life, right? Where you just hit that point where you just need to like really look at what you want to do, and sometimes you're in the wrong place. And I kind of felt that way, you know, like maybe a year or two ago, and I went through this pretty big weight loss experience myself recently, and like I just kind of started like looking at what's important, right? I need to put like my priorities straight, and I kind of like I like your story, dude. That's all I really want to say. That's a really like cool
Thank
story.
you.
I'm glad that you came out on the brighter side of all of that, and it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Thank you, and it's just like I say. Hopefully, you know, if anybody can get anything from this, like follow what your heart wants, do what you want, and that will lead you to purity, and that will lead you to your best self. Because if I had continued chasing dollars, if I had continued doing, I would have been down I was already down a dark path, man. I might not even be here to speak to you guys. I might be in jail, or I might be dead somewhere. Like it was getting bad. I was getting very reckless. I was driving around and doing things like under the influence. It was really, really bad. And if it wasn't for me, like finding that love of Tekken again in my heart and following that, I would have just been in a really dark place. And Tekken saved my life, really. And the FGC allowed me to get back. So y'all saved my life, which is because I had no family, and I had no friends that were supporting me, that were from home. I had only the people that you guys, like the FGC and the community, like y'all didn't even know me like that. Like you just trusted me, you believed in me, and like you saw the passion that I had, and you guys supported me. Like people were like throwing me money to make it to tournaments so I could like build my following and build my name and build my brand again. And if it wasn't for this community, and if it wasn't for all of you out here, I would not be here right now to even talk about this.
Right. I remember one like before this podcast, the thing that I knew you for was you were an Eddie and Paul player, but you were always like the fit guy that played Tekken and was actually good at Tekken, you know. And you would mention that you didn't like people always thinking of gamers that, you know, that you have to fit the description of being like, you know, out of shape and unhealthy, like kind of representing like, you know, you can be, you know, both, right? You can be both a healthy guy and still enjoy playing video games and all that, which is
for sure. Yeah, because nowadays I don't really play. Like I don't compete anymore. I don't really play a lot like casually, but I coach. So I have a few students, and I really try and push, you know, health. Take care of your health, take care of your body, because if you have the right sleep, you have the right hydration, you eat the right foods, your brain is just going to fire off faster than somebody that's sleep deprived and eating junk and just like out of shape. You know, the blood's not circulating right.
There we go.
So,
A lot of players do have that, like exactly what you just mentioned, right? They just don't sleep. They don't sleep well. They eat terrible, and
right.
I mean, it's definitely, it plays a big role.
I think it's
Yeah.
probably the most underrated part is exercising while competing in video games. It's probably the most underrated thing that people don't talk about enough. Like it
Yeah.
literally, I think it makes you like 15%. But if you could quantify maybe 15-25% more on your shit reactions, just not no junk in your mind kind of thing. Like it's so
For
underrated.
sh-
Can you talk about fitness and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So when I moved, so I went to Texas. Then my father was pretty much on his way out, and I came back. I moved back to Long Island to be here for the family for my father passed. So then after that happened, it was like I was just kind of here. I was working on streaming. I was hanging with Nashi. I was traveling to locals and whatnot. And then I was like, my family didn't want me, like, you're not going to just hang out here and not get a job. You know, I was like, I'm working on this. And like, no. So I was like, all right, and like, fuck this. And Trungy's like, yo, come to Tennessee. And he's like, we got a house for you. We got a spot for you. Come here. We'll take care of you. So I went down to Tennessee and I needed to get a job down there while I was training with Trungy. So I got a job at Gold's Gym. And I actually worked at the daycare at the gym. And I worked out like every day on my break. And I would literally listen to like round 2 versions of every song on the Tekken 7 track, just like getting fired up to Souk and the Mission of Dojo, you know? And
Dude, that soundtrack's actually just fucking good. People gave T7 soundtrack too much shit, but yeah.
So good. It's Tekken 7 soundtrack is so good. And I'd be pumping weights to the Tekken music, thinking about beating like JDCR, thinking about like beating Anakin, just thinking about beating my competition at the gym, and using all of the motivation was to be healthy so I could, you know, handle all these plane rides, and I could handle sitting down for these long sets, and I could handle catering my workouts so for my posture and for my body, and to just succeed and to be healthy. And yeah, it was a very, very important part of like my time when I was competing, when I was living in Tennessee the last few years.
Damn, that's awesome. Yeah, people got to work out, man. That's very motivating for me. I gotta start going every day. And
Been trying to get you
everything, guys. Yeah, everyone that's listening, do something. You don't got to lift weights, stretch. You know, like walk. You know, ride a bike. Go play basketball, play racquetball, do something. Just keep your body going. Find something that you enjoy and do it. And it'll complement anything that you're doing, video games or not. Like, it's so important these days. Like, having your health is so important.
Yeah. And this was a perfect time. I mean, during lockdown, like everyone had time to reflect and look at, you know, like what are they not doing that they should be doing, right? So that's kind of why I mentioned that last year I went in like on this health grind, is because I had all this time and I didn't want to have an excuse of like, oh, I'm too busy during the day or anything. I lost my job, all my classes went online, so I started just jogging, and I, you know, just little by little started, you know, just running around my neighborhood, and it just became like a daily thing, you know. And
that's awesome.
This year, I just really wanted to try out Muay Thai. I've always been interested, and you know, especially just from playing Tekken and playing like Bruce and Josie, I always wanted to try it out. So
right
into it and like fell in love with it, dude.
Oh, that's awesome. That's my next goal, is to pursue some type of martial arts, some type of fighting style.
Yeah. Give it a go, dude. Muay Thai is dope. Jiu-Jitsu is also up there. Those are so fun, dude. I'm sure you would love them.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I'm gonna do some research on different things. I was like, should I learn capoeira? But I don't know about that. That might be
It's kind of hard to find a gym for that. I don't feel like I've ever bumped into one like that, you know?
Yeah, capoeira school. That would be pretty cool if I come across that. So, but I'm definitely
so awesome.
in the next year or two, I will definitely take that on. I can't do that right now. I'm super busy with what I'm what I'm doing now. But yeah, no, that's on the horizon for me for sure. That sounds great. I'm happy to hear that from you. That's really cool.
Yeah, dude.
For sure. All right, so Tekken 7, you did pretty. I mean, I'm looking at as many results I could write down, but you know, top 8 Geico Gaming Championships. Like, you've had awesome placings. DreamHack Atlanta, you got 3rd. Like, how's Tekken 7 been to you? What are the biggest takeaways you have from Tekken 7?
So when it comes to placing, I only won one major. The only one I won was KIT. I don't even know if that's on my Twitch.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm looking at your Liquidpedia, but yeah, Kumite, you got first. Yeah.
Okay, so and then but another really really good run was DreamHack. That was like the DreamHack Atlanta was crazy. That's probably my best.
Where you beat Jimmy?
Yeah, that's my best like Tekken 7 win is Jimmy. So well, I guess you know what? That says something right there. My best Tekken 5 win was against Bronson, and my best Tekken 7 was against Jimmy. So obviously, the West Coast is like the best. So, you guys are mad good. So I would say it wasn't the placements that was the biggest success for me in Tekken 7. It was the places that I got to go to. So I got to go to Chile. I got to go to Amsterdam. I got to go to Ireland. I got to go to Greece, and I got to go to Thailand.
That's amazing. Holy shit. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah, and especially with Greece, something that I've always, it's like, my name is Spero, and I'm like 100% Greek. And like, there's been so much Greek culture involved in my life, and I never got a chance to go. Like, no one like could ever send, like my family was like, never able to send me, and like I always wanted to go, and my friends would all go, and I would hear all these great stories. And then when I went to Amsterdam, I met all the Greek Tekken players, and they came up to me, and it was similar to like when I was in Japan, and the Eddie players came up to me. These guys from Greece came up to me, and they were like, "Yo, you're like the best Greek Tekken player ever."
Wow.
like they're like, "Yo, it's an honor to meet you." And then they're like, I remember the one guy, he's like, Spero, he's like, "You come to Greece anytime. You have all you need is €1, and we will take care of you."
That's awesome.
You get on the plane, you get here, and we got you covered, Spero. Don't worry.
Because the name Spero is like the name John over there, right? They knew you were Greek, right?
Oh yeah, it's like super super common name.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and they did, and they all took care of me. They all took care of me. Like Tassos, the guy who's like the main organizer. He put together like all these different people that like different families and different players like to house me for a week. I didn't have to pay for any rent. Like I just was able to go for 3 weeks and like experience the culture. And like I literally like felt my own roots, like going there and just being where like my ancestors are from, and then being like taken care of like I'm one of them, and then just playing. Like I grinded. I played so many games like against Nivek and against all of the play. I got to play everybody in Greece, like all over. And it was, like I said, my two greatest life experiences is Greece and Japan.
Awesome.
And it's all because of Tekken. And if it wasn't for Tekken, I would have never ever gotten a chance to like learn about myself and about my culture. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for for all these guys that were so accommodating and welcoming to me. And
Yeah, I feel like we got a lot of. I mean, what you're saying is totally true, man. The FGC is beautiful. I've made so many freaking lifelong friends and stuff like that. So I'm happy. This is more about that. I mean, that's what I'm getting more out of it than hey, Tekken's really cool, but yeah, just the lifelong friendships and lessons you learn. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like, man, we've robbed you. I said this would be an hour, and this is 2 hours. But dude, this is awesome. I mean, freaking. Do you have anything else, Ian? I feel like
I
don't know how to even close out.
So much, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave you guys the whole. You guys said an hour. I was like, "There's no way I can get through all that."
It happens every time. We always think, "Oh, it's gonna go on for an hour," and before we know it, it's like 2 hours have gone by, and we're like, "What?" Like, like it happens naturally. Like it's just. Honestly, you were one of like the coolest dudes to have on here, dude. It was pretty awesome hearing your whole story.
Yeah, this is definitely way more fun than MYK. So,
no, thank you. No, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on the show and listening to me. And it's like really nice to share my story. And hopefully, I could inspire other people to follow their dreams and do what it is that makes them, makes them thrive and makes them be the best person that they could be.
Yeah, if I see you at a tournament, dude, I'm gonna introduce myself to you and give you a hug, man.
Thank you. Virtual hug.
Oh yeah, virtual
Yeah.
6 foot distance hug.
Right.
So as far as storytelling, who should we beg to be on the show next? Like we begged you. Who's a OG Tekken player that would be an interesting story? Maybe you don't know too much about that. Kind of point us towards.
Oh man, put me on the spot here.
Yeah.
I mean, when we asked MYK, he mentioned you, so that's why we kind of.
Yeah.
Really? Oh
I
man.
think it was because we were talking about the whole money match story, so like it made sense to have your side, on the podcast. So I think that's why he mentioned you right away. But
I almost want to beg Bronson, but he's a dad and he's busy. But
Dad world, yeah. You know what would be so? I'm trying to think of I would love to hear Arario's story because I don't even know anything about his story past, I don't even know much about him at all. But I think he's pretty like under the radar doing his thing.
yeah.
Right.
But as an active Tekken player right now, I'm just trying to think of who. Oh man, I don't know. I would.
it's okay. I mean, we don't gotta
figure it out.
figure it out.
You can DM us or something.
Honestly, I got something for you. It would be great to hear Shadow's story.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
I would love to hear Shadow's story. Yeah, because he's one of the greatest Tekken players alive right now, in my opinion. And
Definitely in his prime right now.
and yeah, he's just such a nice guy and just always such a respectful, real deal dude that I've just always been a fan of. So yeah.
definitely the most low key. Like he's so quiet. I feel like I don't know anything about him other than he's just amazing.
Yeah. He's a great dude. Really good dude.
All right, Spero Jin, we're gonna say thank you. Let you go to sleep. It's East Coast, right? You're on East Coast time.
Yeah, I got about an hour before bedtime. So
For sure.
Thank you for coming.
All right, man.
It was honestly a great episode.
Yeah.
well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was great. It was great sharing my story with you guys. And you ever want me on the show again? I'm here for you.
For sure.
Dude,
man.
thank you. You dropped so much knowledge on us. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. You guys have a great night.
All right. You
All
too.
right.
Good night.
All
See
right,
ya.
take care. Peace.
FGC Jump Squad, your premier Tekken podcast.